IEBC raised concern over insecurity ahead of 2013 elections. Poll shows Raila Kalonzo ticket would beat Uhuru Ruto team. And owner of vehicle accused of ferrying explosives surrenders. It's Friday, the 14th of December 2012. Hello and welcome. Let's jump into our top stories of the day. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is getting increasingly concerned over the escalating cases of insecurity in the country just 3 months before the March 4th general election. This worry is boosted by an incident earlier on Friday when one woman was injured after an explosive device went off at a voter registration center in Ifo, a refugee camp close to the Somali border. IEBC Vice Chairperson Lilian Mahiri Zaja also cited insecurity posed by the Mombasa Republican Council, terrorist elements, and other cases. Tension is already high across the country ahead of elections due in March, 5 years after deadly post-poll killings that shattered Kenya's image as a beacon of regional stability. Cases of unrest, some of them thought to be politically instigated, have been witnessed in the recent past, most notably in Tana River and Samburu, where populations have been displaced. This has, of course, also affected the ongoing voter registration. To curb the politics, the Commission has sent a strong warning to politicians who have been accused of importing supporters to register in certain areas. In the meantime, the National Council of Churches of Kenya is urging Kenyans to take advantage of the remaining 4 days to register as voters. Still on registration, the IEBC says it is opposed to the use of ID waiting cards to list people because it is likely to compromise the voters' roll. The Vice Chairperson argues that the credibility of the elections relies heavily on the quality of voters' register used to facilitate the polls, hence the need to strictly rely on national identity cards and not waiting cards. She says they are mainly opposed to the use of the waiting cards because they do not bear serial numbers and a photograph of the holder, hence a recipe for double registration. Parliament amended the Elections Act last week, giving the green light for use of the waiting cards, but President Mwai Kibaki is yet to assent to it.
Of course, we've had an issue where politicians are importing voters. There is a gap in the law, of course, because a citizen can choose where to go and vote. But we've had cases where people have imported a whole clan to go and vote, to go and register in a different area altogether. Only that they do not remind these people that when it comes to polling, IEBC will have kicked in the Electoral Code of Conduct, and therefore there will be no importation of voters at that time. And people will have to face the law in terms of those electoral offences.
And as Uhuru and Mudavadi prepare to face off for the Jubilee Alliance ticket, a new poll by Ipsos Synovet may not necessarily be the kind of news they want to hear now. The poll shows that Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka would beat a Uhuru Kenyatta Musalia Mudavadi ticket or a Mudavadi William Ruto ticket. According to Ipsos, Raila and Kalonzo would garner 47% of votes against 41% for Uhuru and Ruto if elections were held on Friday. It looks worse for Jubilee if Mudavadi was to vie for the presidency with Ruto as his running mate. The pair would have 38% against Raila Kalonzo's 48%. 14% of those polled are still undecided. Raila's popularity in the polls rose by a percentage point to 34%. Uhuru's has dropped a point to 27%, with Mudavadi gaining 1 point to 5% since the last poll, which was conducted a month ago. Researcher Tom Wolfe says the number of undecided voters has almost doubled since November, a matter he attributed to recent political realignments. Western and Coast had the highest percentage of undecided voters in the poll that was conducted through computer-aided telephone interviews, targeting 1,625 respondents. And finally, the owner of a Subaru Forester whose number plate was circulated by police for allegedly carrying explosives presented himself to the Central Police Station. The man, who identified himself as Alex Chege, went to the station on Friday afternoon and said he was a law-abiding citizen who suspects business rivalry in the alarm. Chege runs a private secondary school in Githurai. He told police he had left the vehicle at a garage in Ngara on Thursday for some mechanical repairs. Central DCIO Richard Bitok says no explosives were found in the car. News of Subaru Foresters was dominant in the social media and some mainstream media houses since Friday morning. Capital TV was, however, cautious about the information, which was declared a hoax by the police. Nairobi Provincial CID Chief Nicholas Kamwende earlier told us that the information was likely a hoax because reports given were contradicting with registration lodged at the Kenya Revenue Authority. Police spokesman Eric Kiraive says although they encourage members of the public to always volunteer information, they are urging the public to exercise caution and avoid giving false alarms. And that does it for our top stories of the day. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Victoria Rubadiri.